So, welcome to this episode of The Art of Feeling Better, and I have my friend with me, Angela.
Hello.
To have a little conversation, continuing on from some of the past conversations. So, I've touched on this a few times, but thinking about parenting, being a parent and the absolute journey that is, and all the good and bad. I'm thinking about specifically a mother, because we're both mums, what it is to be a mother, and some of the things that we don't tend to talk about, just to share a little bit of hope and a little bit of understanding that it's okay and we're all going through the same thing. We might have a cat joining us, but she's hovering around, that's fine. So yeah, we're just going to have a general chat, and I'd love to hear more about kind of your journey and your story and any bits that you're willing to share, and maybe some mums out there will kind of relate and be able to think, it's not just me, not on my own. And then see, here she is. Here's Nala. And then, we'll talk about some of the brilliant work you're doing that will support other parents by sharing some of your skills and your journey. So let's sort of kind of wind it back and start from the beginning. So you have a brilliant program that you're now delivering, but there's a reason that you've kind of been on your journey to develop this and create it in the first place. This need to just support.
Yeah, definitely.
Parents. So where did that come from?
So I'll try and keep it condensed, because I could talk about my journey to here for quite a while. But I've got 4 boys. So my background's a teacher. So I've worked with children for many years. But then having my own children, the children I work with, is quite a different ball game. So when I was on my second maternity leave, this is kind of where my passions come for well-being. I found out I was expecting my 3rd little boy. So
I bet that was a nice surprise.
That was a nice surprise. And I was working as a teacher, and I was always very driven as a teacher, and the balance between being a working parent in a demanding
and
challenging, demanding and rewarding but challenging role was really hard to strike that balance.
Yeah.
So when I went back to work following my 3rd maternity leave, I knew I had to make some changes, and I hadn't actually been myself. I didn't recognise at the time, but I definitely had signs of like prenatal depression.
Oh, really?
I really just wasn't handling having a little baby that was 9 months old and knowing I was having another baby. And it did really challenge me, and it was something that I hadn't really talked about with it. I talked to the doctors and therapists and things afterwards, but luckily when he was born, everything kind of settled. But then that was because I discovered the world of mindset and personal growth. So I started my own self-development journey.
Did you start that because you knew you needed to find it, or did you just cross your radar?
I think it was the universe giving it to me, but I didn't actively seek it.
Yeah.
But I was introduced to a business that had a personal development support. That was kind of something that I learned about gratitude and meditation and mindfulness, and I read self-help books, and I was like, oh, what's all these self-help books? But I was just absolutely loving the transformation, and this was from when my 3rd son was sort of 6 months old.
That's so tiny, isn't it?
So when I went back to school, I just had a different outlook, and it's really interesting because I really coped better with the kind of the stress of the job and everything, because I just had a really different mindset to it.
I bet you showed up as a teacher in a different way.
Oh, definitely.
To your students.
Yeah, and I was doing lots of the gratitude with the children, and I brought we did like compliments. We did like a certain compliment sessions and different things. And my TA went on a training course. She said, we're doing all this in our class already, Angela. So I absolutely loved it. But then basically we got to the point where I was still working part-time, but having 3 young children,
it's hard, isn't it?
I made the decision to move away from education in terms of my full-time position, my part-time position. But I went to do a little bit of supply teaching, but then we faced something in 2019 and 2020 that changed kind of our outlook as well. So then I found I was having a baby number 4 in 2019.
I had the same in 2019, but I really wasn't expecting number 4.
So yeah, but interestingly, I had a completely different outlook to it because I was doing all the mindset stuff and the gratitude. And and one thing I won't go into a lot of depth with today was but I've got all boys, so 4 boys, and I really, really had this kind of it was definitely like a mental health issue. I really struggled with having my third son because I really had this image of having a daughter, and I think unless somebody's been in that space and that gender disappointment space, I don't think people really understand that it's not something that you choose. It's not something you can really help. It's kind of like a grieving process. It's kind of like a grieving process. But going through my 3rd pregnancy and having the depression around it to the 4th in the same situation, still very much like a surprise. But I had deep gratitude for what was meant to be to be. And actually I welcomed being a boy mum then, and I embraced it rather than me thinking, this wasn't what I expected. And, it's quite unusual to have all 4 children the same gender. I know that the gratitude was key.
So you
for me
had
there.
New tools by the time number 4 came along.
Yeah. I just embraced it. And actually people make a comment because people don't mean to, but actually this is something that I do like to educate people on. I think you shouldn't talk about people. I don't think there's some key things, like maybe not discuss people's like family setup. Like we don't know what people are going through. Like if somebody's chosen to have children or they haven't, or whether they're going through fertility issues, or if someone has got all girls or all boys, they can't actually help what gender children have been given to them. Like, actually the man makes the baby.
It's the boys, isn't it? I've had this myself as well with like having 4, and you'll be the same having 4. People have this, why did you want 4? Like, it's a weird thing. Like, did you not want to stop? Was there nothing on the telly? Like, I've heard it all before.
The telly, you've heard that one.
You heard that before. And then people will always want to know the gender. They always want to know the boys and girls, as if there's a specific formula that should happen. And I'm really lucky because 2 boys, 2 girls, it's like perfect. But it's like, okay, you've done that right then. It's really weird.
I know, and people say, one of each, that's good. And,
why is that actually, a good thing,
it's kind of like, again, and this will come on to what we'll talk about shortly, like the pressure from society that we face. And actually, one thing that I've learned is that actually we can have tools so that we don't put that pressure on ourselves. We can always be in control of our responses and the way that we perceive things. So going from the different situations, the 3rd pregnancy of not having any personal development behind me and any tools to that I could access, to the 4th time, actually just thinking, well, actually if somebody makes a remark, well, actually that's on them. That doesn't have, I don't have to take that
how
on.
will I respond?
And how, actually I did respond to people, and I did kind of educate people, and I would say, well, actually, I'm so grateful for my family as it is, and actually we love having all boys, and there's so many benefits to having all the same gender. But actually in my 3rd pregnancy I was really unwell, and actually that comment would have really distressed me.
You use that to
so
educate
and I do,
people.
and I would do it in a really, in a positive way, because actually people don't mean to, sometimes it's a conversation starter, isn't it? And same with the TV thing, isn't it? It's just people sometimes say things without really realising that could cause damage.
I think it's so brave though, because I love, because we talked about this a few times, and I've heard you talk to other women about it. Topics like this that are really emotive, and that you can potentially carry a lot of guilt with, and a lot of like overthinking things and repressing things and grieving, and being able to actually openly speak about this, especially with gender disappointment. It seems to be a very taboo subject.
Of course it is.
We don't talk about this because you can't possibly ever feel anything other than love and gratitude at all times for your children. And it's such an awful subject to broach but it's so common, and so it's so important to get the word out and talk to people that it is a process, and it's fine. It doesn't mean you love your children any less. It's just important.
It's just something that it's not something you choose.
No.
And actually, if you do suppress it and you don't talk about it and you don't try to educate people on it, then there will be people out there that are feeling that shame and that guilt. And it doesn't mean that, like you say, it doesn't take away any love you have for your family, and it certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't stop you appreciating that you've been able to have a family, because that,
but
that
it's
is
still a valid
that,
feeling that you need to process, isn't it? You need
definitely.
It's all powerful.
But I mean, we could have a literal whole.
You could do a whole session on
but
that.
I just wanted to give a little bit of background because I just think when I compare those two journeys, being a mum the third time and the fourth time, the difference having the tools and the difference having the mindset and the principles that I live by, which are kind of now feed into the work
I agree
that I do.
With the same,
I think, it's just the evidence that it's so important.
It's the game changer, isn't it?
That we have them at our disposal and that we can invest that time in ourselves, because we can't pour from an empty cup and we can't give to others unless we're looking after ourselves.
It's the hardest thing though, isn't it, as a parent? And it was for me for many, many years, is actually accepting that truth that actually you are the most important person and you have to actively choose that and do that, and you have to invest in yourself. And I've said this before in another podcast episode, that the hardest thing for me was just sitting still, because I was always in that trauma drive, and the guilt if I sat down for more than 2 minutes was off the scale, because there was somebody must need me, I must do something. And it wasn't until I did the self-development work and I learned about myself, about how the nervous system works and what was going on, that I realised what it actually was. And it was a perception, and it was a fear response, it was a threat response, and and even when you know that, it's still not enough, because you then have to spend a lot of time working through that and developing the tools and sitting with it. And you'll see it behind the camera there, actually, one of my tools. You see that stack of, you can't, but I'll show you the finished result. It's a crochet blanket, and it's dead funny because everyone laughs, but I've got such a specific set of tools, and and you never complete it on expert level, you're always learning more. But at the moment, I've got such a broad toolkit that I've been working on while I've been developing Mojo School, but even before that a specific response, I know what I need for that response. And I know that if I'm in a certain headspace, I need to just pause. I'll do some self-care, the traditional hot bath, salt bath, aromatherapy, candles. I'll get out in the earth with my feet on the floor. That's what I need. I'll go for a walk. Sometimes it's the gym. I'll spend 2 hours in the gym and go for a sauna. That's what I need. And sometimes it's something practical with my hands. So at the moment, to keep my head in the space it needs to be in, while there's lots of shifts and changes going on, I've just been making granny squares. Taught myself to crochet from YouTube. It's massive blanket now, so I'm kind of making Christmas presents. I'll show you in a bit, but it's, and again, kids will come in and be like, what are you doing that again? and Hook Craig's like, she's off again doing weird stuff. But for me, it's my outlet, isn't it? I can't sit and watch the telly because my brain will tell me you should be doing something else. But I can sit and watch the telly if I'm doing something with my hands, give my brain a little workout, and my breathing is slowed down. I feel really calm, really comfortable. Nice dopamine hit reward when I've completed each square. So that works for me. It might not work for you, but I know that that's a really good tool for me.
And that's for my mum as well. My mum, who makes my little characters, which I'll talk about. So she does all the sewing and the embroidery, and that's her. Like, she used to do mindfulness colouring as her kind of therapy. And then when I started my programs of working with children, she's taken on my little projects, and she's like so excited.
It's so good for her, though.
And she loves that, and I can't wait to bring her to one of my sessions, because she'll be able to see it all, the little ones enjoying the fruits of her labour. So,
I love it.
But that's the thing. It doesn't have to be, an art or craft, like you said. It could be the gym. For me, I just love getting out and walking. I just walk, and I like. I like to take note of nature and
mindful walks.
And I've been doing a little bit of cold water dipping as well.
Do you love that? Yeah, I do love that. We went in the sea a while ago.
We did. We had a great time.
It was great. So there's so many tools, isn't it? It's about exploring what works for you,
and it's what's unique. What is going to be unique to you?
Yeah.
Because we talked about this before, and again, this comes back to society's pressure. Every family is unique, and every family has a unique set of circumstances. And I think when we decided to actually book in this like chat today, it came from me having a rant on a voice message to you about feeling inadequate based on something I'd seen on social media, because we know that social media can be very useful, to connect, to give us ideas. But it also, we can be looking for that dopamine hit in the wrong place, and we can be in that scroll hole. In this particular minute, I was scrolling and I'd seen somebody preparing a Halloween themed lunchbox as a parent, and I was very triggered by it. And I thought, why am I being so triggered by this? and I think, who's got the time to make Halloween themed lunchboxes? And, I sent my child to school in the wrong fancy dress costume because he couldn't find his outfit. So we had to make up, it was Halloween day at school, we had to make up like half pirate, half skeleton, because he tried on
customized.
Yeah. But actually, do you know what? He rocked it, and he looked ace, and he loved it, and he was. But at the minute, it was like, shame. I can't believe I've lost it. I've washed the costume, and I can't believe I've let him lose it. Where is it?
Worst
all that was going on, and I thought. And then this woman's making a Halloween lunchbox, I can't even find a costume. So, but that made me kind of really realise and feel triggered. And actually, that person that's making a Halloween lunchbox, that's giving them joy.
Yeah.
That's something that maybe that's their thing that they like to do. And actually, there'll be days when that lady hasn't got it all together as well. And, she'll be triggered by something else.
Yeah.
And actually, we shouldn't judge other people for what they want to do. If we don't like something that we're watching on social media, don't watch it. It's a tool that we have control over, because we can decide what serves us and what doesn't. And every family's different, aren't they?
It's getting out of that comparison and judgment trap, isn't it? In every area, and like you're doing a Mojo School program with me at the moment, the mums one. Yes, and we kind of come on to that, and there's loads of different discussions. But the basis of everything that I do, really, when it comes down to it, is getting out of the comparison and judgment trap. So all the work I do around anxiety and threat response and positive thinking and all reframing thought patterns and learning how to breathe and connecting with nature, when you have to distill it down to why these tools are necessary, for me it's because every single person is somehow triggered by feeling inadequate, shame or guilt or fear or anger, not being good enough, not being accepted, being judged, guilt over, and that's it in every single circumstance. So just having the tools to get out of that space. And then of course, and I love the way you framed that, because then a lot of people, myself included, in the past, myself included, would be really judgy of that person and posting that stuff out and making everyone feel bad, and it would still be a judgment, and it would be the opposite side. But it's having that self-awareness to go, do you know what, why has that made me feel like that, and contemplating what it was that made you feel that way and how you can change that, but then not deflecting it onto that person either, because they're having a lovely time and they're doing something lovely.
And the thing is, some people are stay-at-home mums, and they have, the time to do, and that is a full-time job, isn't it? I hold my hands up and praise stay-at-home parents, not just mums, dads as well, because that is a job in itself, and it's the most sort of it's the unpaid job that you never clock off from, and you're never going to feel like you've done enough that you could do. Again, that's down to what pressure you put on yourself. Yeah, and in my house at the minute, I'm so glad to be in Jane's house, not mine, with older children, because it's obviously half term in Wales, and my house looks like the scene of destruction.
Yeah, your voice note this morning, I was like, oh God, mine does generally, but I remember that so well from half term, and then some holidays you just give up, don't you? It's like, it is what it is.
And that's the thing, it's letting go of the pressure. Like one time I would be putting that pressure on myself. The house is so untidy, I'm not on top of the washing. But actually, life is about living in the moment. And when my boys are older, I'm sure they're going to remember the time that I was present, that we did things.
Not when you were washing.
Not when I was scrubbing the house, stressed because I didn't.
Where do you think that comes? Do you think that comes from social media?
Yeah. 1,000,000%.
Because I know I had a conversation with my mum a while ago actually about roles, and years ago everybody had defined roles, and I think the pressure was still there because there was still competition in roles about who had the best door swept, the washing was on the line, and whose kids are most put together. So I think it's always been a thing, especially for women. We've had that. I want to be a good mum and I want to be a good wife, and there's a socially acceptable set of norms. But it has to be worse with social media now. It has to be the highlight reels. The high social media, you always need exactly what you just said, highlight reel. That's people. It's not reality, really.
I've always been very. I've always wanted to, when I've been on my social media channels, to show the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Reality.
To keep it real, because actually, that's what people need to see, and it does help people. To realise that actually,
they're doing a great
people
job.
Haven't got it together all the time.
Nobody has.
And actually, like you said before about the old traditional roles, traditionally mums didn't have jobs, and their job was to have immaculate washing piles and children looking really put together and
do the ironing. I don't remember the last time I did ironing. No,
now.
I don't remember the last time I did any ironing. And I know some people who do have that, still have that.
And actually, some people find that therapy, and that for them,
the opposite for me.
For the people that enjoy that and they like to do that, and then that's great for them. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have an iron, like my iron broke and we didn't replace it, doesn't mean that you should feel any less about yourself. Because we live in the modern world isn't really geared up for the separate roles, I don't think, in society. Because I've had various roles. I have been a stay-at-home mum when I've been on maternity leave. I've been a full-time teacher. I've been a part-time teacher, and I'm now a business owner and a mum. And each time I've had different ages of children, which brings with it. I'm now I'm like a football mum. There's very different roles, and obviously, a different situation. You might have. I know a lot of my friends, not just boys, not just girls, boys as well, might be going to dance shows and things like that. Yeah, there's so many different, responsibilities that might come with being a parent. But I think one thing that I'm going to say now, in case I forget, is actually, you heard the expression that it takes a village, where they talk about raise a child. And a very good friend of mine shared this with me when I was struggling in one of my pregnancies. And she said, but Angela, you were never meant to do it alone.
On your own,
you were never meant to do it alone. Like traditionally tribal times, everybody would come together and they would all share responsibilities. And no wonder that, that the mental load was less if everybody's pulling together. And
everyone has different skills, don't they? And everybody comes together and does different things. In the conversation actually last week, it kind of translates to this around tribes and around leadership. I know it's a bit of a tenuous link, but it just reminds me of that. That when we go into a tribe and say, where is your leader? They're a bit baffled. And the analogy that they used was, tell me your problem and I will show you your leader. So everybody has strengths in it, and everyone has a skill. And in terms of rearing children, there's different things that are needed. And then you need bits and you need things and you need support. And we've just not got that anymore. We've got that solitary, massive expectation, either perceived or like handed to you by society, or it's just your own construct of what you think is expected of you. It's such a lot, especially when we're trying to fit business and work on top of it as well. It's
another thing as well is, if you haven't been pumpkin picking, don't worry.
Yeah.
As to pumpkin is absolutely fine.
It's not the end of the world,
as well, because this is another thing. I haven't been pumpkin picking this holiday. I know,
Angela,
I know. And my boys haven't even asked to go, but part of me thought, well, I haven't seen it. But actually, does that matter? We've been to a Halloween party this week. We've been away to a Halloween party at the weekend.
They won't notice.
So, you can't do everything. And again, it's 5 years ago when pumpkin picking wasn't really a big thing. You wouldn't have even seen that on people's social media feeds to even feel that was an expectation.
It's
so
like
again,
prom.
it's like
prom. It's like World Book Day to a certain extent. Although I know you can see the relevance of these things, but all these new things that come in that just put pressure on. And I can remember when mine were in school, and it's never ending, especially with Tommy. He's like, oh, my last little angel, who just like didn't give a shit about anything, just didn't want to be there. It wasn't his space. And he's like, there's like a million letters in the bottom of his bag. The girls would come home and be like, here's a letter, I need this, and here's my diary, and this needs to be done like this, which was helpful for me that they kind of managed that. Tommy didn't care, he wasn't bothered. It'd be like the morning of, oh, by the way, I need to dress up as this today. I'm like, let's just go to the wardrobe department, shall we? Like, what are we meant to do now? It's so hard. It's too much. And I also need £1. And then all four of them all, we all need £1.
And you haven't got your change.
I'm like, we don't have cash in the house anymore. What am I meant to do about this? But the absolute pressure and that fear response of, oh my God, I'm going to be shown up as being the worst mum in the world. Can't get my shit together. I've got all these things to do. The kids are going to get ridiculed. It's too much, and it's not necessary.
And the thing is, sometimes in busy life, we do forget things. Do go under the radar, and you do miss things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if you miss something. If your child turns up in PE and it's not PE day, that nothing earth shattering is going to happen. No. And I think it's how you respond to something like that, because actually you're showing your children actually mistakes are okay. Yeah. That's a really important lesson, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good
and owning up to I'm so sorry I didn't do this. It's honouring that you're human and that you're not always going to get everything right. And that is just a great lesson for your children to learn, I think.
I think it is, most definitely. And we know now from the conversations that we've had, your work, which I'm going to ask you about in a sec, and some of the spaces that I'm moving into with the conference last weekend, is that it's not enough. We know education, and I say this time and time again, it needs burning down and starting again. Make no mistake, the system is flawed. It is damaging. It's harmful. I feel like it breaches several safeguarding laws, and I will die on that hill. It's not good for most people, including teachers. But we need to rethink how we think about learning in general, and it needs to include the families. It needs to include the parents, supporting the parents on their learning journey, teaching parents how to parent, how to play, how to communicate compassionately, and how to be mindful in their parenting. And the teachers need these skills and support with their burnout and how they approach things and how they react to things. And it's more than just ticking a box and putting some curriculum stuff on an agenda and teaching kids to regurgitate facts so that they can get the best scores in a test. So the data looks good. It's just so backwards, isn't it?
It is hard, and it's hard when you come from an education background as a teacher, because you're passionate about educating and enriching the lives of children and helping them progress on their own individual journey. But the curriculum is not made for every single child. And the comparison thing again, analogy that I use is really simple, but when you can't possibly compare a child to another child, even within your own family. All your children have got different personalities. They've had different they've been born at different points of the world. Like Vinny was born at COVID time, and like it'll be different for every family, won't it? Whatever traumas are going on around you, different experiences. But you wouldn't compare an apple to a banana, because they're two totally different things. So someone shared this with me once, and I just love analogies. I love analogies. But if you're comparing your life circumstances and something you're doing to another family and the way that they're parenting, it's like saying, be more like the banana, but you're round and you're shiny and you're not long and pointy.
Well, you must be like that.
But that's how absurd it is when you put these expectations on yourself that society may be presenting, or like say you might just be perceiving them. It's not realistic, and it's to be kind to yourself and have that self-love. That actually you just, as long as you're doing your best, that's all you can possibly do.
And you're doing a great job. That's the thing, isn't it? You're doing an amazing job under really difficult circumstances at the moment as well. It's hard going. So talk to me about Dinky Droplets. I love it so much. Just explain what the concept is and why you're so passionate about it.
So I've been doing my Droplet program in school since 2020, and then I've loved working in schools, but I feel like I am meant to be working with families, and that is something that I've been putting into place since June. So I came up with I've evolved the Droplet program into Dinky Droplets for preschoolers and babies. And basically we'll put some links under this, won't we? But basically I've got more than 8 now, because we're working on some new ones.
So exciting.
But basically my passion for wellbeing, I had this idea in the kind of lockdown time, and my neighbour's a graphic designer, so she brought my contents on my head to life. So we've got a little yellow droplet, which is all about gratitude, so looking on the bright side. So little ones, we say, what do you love? So just getting into that positive language. It's just, and it's with the pressures that are around us, not just parents, jobs, relationships, it can be so hard to kind of be positive. But if you make gratitude a daily habit, affirmations, I didn't even know what affirmations were pre-2016. So I've been working on mindset techniques for probably getting on for 10 years now. So Zachary was born in 2016. It was sort of 6 months after, where I would learn these affirmations. So at the time I was working on a health and wellness business, which I loved, and I thank every day, because that's what's given me the journey, and also given me the courage to go into business and to actually give myself control and be able to be with my children freely. But I would have affirmations all the time.
It's worked.
I believe in myself. I can do anything, and with affirmations, it's anything that you're putting out there and saying you can't do, you can turn it around into a positive and make it into a positive.
We haven't even got to that. So a little bit further down the line, in a few months, we're doing some really smart affirmations, but we're doing it around, just as a digression, we're doing it around taking the language.
Can't wait for that.
Taking the language that you finding out what your core limiting belief is, it's dug in there somewhere, work that out, and then use the language to put it into affirmation.
And that's what's so powerful, isn't it?
We're teaching kids at such an
and
age.
with littlies and with the little dinkies, we sort of say, I'm brave, I love myself, I'm
strong,
I'm kind, I'm strong, and we do lots of actions, and we have superhero fun. I wear a cape, because why not?
Why not? I feel like doing that every day just because.
But they just love it. And then we've got the red and the blue droplet, which explore feeling red and frustrated and giving it colour to it. And then with blue, it's okay to feel blue. So actually normalising that we can feel sad, we can feel angry.
And we have to do this work with adults now to unpick all of the harm done, that it's a normal human emotion that's totally okay.
And this is why, again, parents, a child that's expressing themselves through a temper tantrum, they're in fight or flight mode for some reason, something's triggered them. And it's having those strategies that we can support them. And we do a lot of distraction techniques, and we do lots of stories, and so that the sessions are very much about, it's okay to feel red and blue, but these are some strategies that we can use to help our little ones, and us, because I'll get to how Dinky Droplets applies to us as adults as well. Then we've got a nature droplet, the green droplet, and then
probably my favourite.
I know, I'm looking forward to, we're doing a winter one for that. We're doing a winter theme in a couple of weeks. Then we've got orange droplet, which I love as well. So orange droplet is all about vision and visualizing. So vision power is really just very powerful, and visualizing what you want to achieve. And actually, if you're thinking from a parenting perspective, if you feel like everything's going to shit, you can, maybe, your children are arguing, because that's something that I'm dealing with, having, older children now, and feeling like really like you're kind of losing it in control a little bit. Sometimes it's really good just to visualize a really calm space in your mind,
positive,
think to yourself, right, okay, well, because I can either really be triggered now, and I can
get into
release
the problem,
release this in a way that actually wouldn't be supporting anything. You could even just step away,
do some visualization,
and then just visualize yourself, in a forest, on a beach, wherever you want to, whatever makes you feel good. And then come back and step into it with a different mindset.
Yeah, it's so powerful as a parenting tool, isn't it?
So I do vision. When I've been working in schools, I've been doing visualization with the older children, primary, year 3 upwards, even year 2. Obviously, little babies and toddlers, but we do imagine. We do imagine me. So basically, children are great at visualizing, because their imagination is there. So we do lots of so we talk about imagine we're a princess, and we do songs and things, or dinosaurs, so very much about imagination, but then with a supportive handout for parents about how they can use visualization. Beautiful. And then gold droplet, uniquely me, which is very important, speaking of today parenting. So gold droplet is about superstar me, so it's celebrating how we're all uniquely ourselves, so diversity, and looking at what our talents are. We always need to remember gold droplet when we're having these little wobbles and we're measuring ourselves against unrealistic expectations, because actually you're doing a great job, and that, going back to that self-love again, you are doing a great job. But I have got some more droplets up my sleeve. I'm not going to reveal. I'll tell you one, but there are 2 that are in the pipeline that have been created by my neighbour, graphic design. She's put them together, but one of them's already come out, and that's the silver celebration.
I saw something about that.
So we did a Halloween. Yes, we did a Halloween, and so a little hat. Mum's been making hats. We've got a Halloween hat, and then we've got a fireworks bonfire night special next week, and then we've got obviously Christmas. Yeah. But I thought, do you know what? Although when I designed the droplets, it was for emotions, well-being, strategies. I thought actually we need to honour celebrations and parties, because actually they're very important. But also a footnote to that is they can also be very stressful times.
They can be. So it's using
the tools, and also also being aware that our little ones change to routines during these
Lots
celebrations,
people,
later nights,
stuff.
perhaps if it's bonfire night or Christmas is going to have lots
food,
of different parties.
Overstimulation.
So it's having that awareness that how we can support our little ones and ourselves, being kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because again, Christmas is going to come up soon, and that's going to. Sorry, I've said a swear
word,
haven't I? There,
don't use the C word.
It's going to bring lots of joy, but also we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Christmas
again, to have. Don't even get me on Alf. Don't even get me on that one.
I'm glad.
I actually did a post about this last.
That's the ultimate comparison, isn't it? That's so stressful for parents.
So yeah, that's something that might be quite triggering. And again, I'm 41 years old, and we didn't have anything that was going on now, traditions, and I feel like I had the best Christmases.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my childhood was any less because we didn't have all the things that are around now. So, don't feel you've got to succumb to these pressures unless you want to, and that's going to bring you joy and your family joy. If you want to, that's completely different.
If it's a stressful situation, if you don't do it, that's everything that I teach. If something lights you up, do it and enjoy it. And if something causes you stress, don't do it. Simple as that, isn't it? I think sometimes with these traditions, and I am really glad that, again, as another footnote to that, I'm glad that my kids were older before Elf on a Shelf came in. And I was thinking about it the last couple of years because I would have been the person who actually loved it at certain times. I would have absolutely gone, I do these things. Everything is like go big or go home. And I had incredible when I was in the zone. But then what would happen is I would have set myself up for difficult situations, because then one year I might have been in a really bad place and not able to do these things. But there's an expectation that I've set up for myself.
Exactly. That
the kids are then, you can't not do it. Once you've done that and you've done it that big, where do you go from there? So it's just being mindful of your own cup. Is it ready to overflow? Are there things that are going to stop you? Is it going to cause you some problems? And I think it's lovely, it's cute, and I like seeing them to a certain extent, but it always makes me feel a bit ouchy that I know this is coming from a place of making lots of money for somebody, and through
now you can buy little props.
Loads of merch, isn't there? But capitalising on parents already having to compare themselves and feeling burnt out and stressed out, and giving them something else to do on top of that doesn't feel comfortable.
So always make sure you're aligned with what you're doing, because actually, all you need to as a parent, all you want to be thinking about is, creating that happy, safe space where and if you're stressed to the max trying to do things that don't actually need to be done, that aren't essential. You're not any less of a parent for choosing to not do it.
I think the whole conversation around it helped me. I think we probably touched on this before we've been chatting. If you're going to look back and think, what will I regret more? Kids want memories. They want your time, your presence. They want just memories that don't need to cost lots of money. And will you regret, doing lots of, things and put yourself under pressure to buy things and have things and get things and make things?
Yeah, material possessions. And that's something I definitely shifted on, and, going from various points in my sort of journey as a parent, from working full time to being part time to being in building mode of the business, and starting something that I'm really excited about, which is very different to what I was doing. So I started my Beauty to Blossom business, which is my school-based business, where I still did my droplets. And actually, if you want to check out my Instagram, I have got some really cool reels on there. I don't really update it too much now, but I put a lot of good content on there. Things we've talked about, like gender disappointment, comparison, self-love. Because actually we do need to really honour ourselves. Because we can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
And and actually that's what I do in my sessions with parents. And with my Dinky Droplets, I want my sessions to be, everything you expect from a toddler baby class, where you've got the sensory exploration, you've got, the music, the movement, the fun, we've got like a dress up area, we've got, craft, stories. But, our well-being is at the core, and my mission is to, provide support for families as well, and to explain what the droplets stand for, so you can carry them on at home. So you can talk about things you love and bring gratitude into your house, having your meal times, and just using the positive language and using those affirmations, and having these strategies at your fingertips, because they've definitely made me a better parent. Thinking about my parenting journey, now to back 8-10 years ago is very different. And obviously, I know age has come with that and other experiences, but the practices that I do now, and if I don't do my daily practices, my gratitude, like this week, it's always the same in half two because it's a different routine. But if I don't do my mindset time and I don't spend that little bit of time reflecting and that little bit of time for me, then I'm definitely not in the same mindset, and I definitely find that I've become more easily triggered.
It's so interesting how that works, isn't it? Once you go off the ball a little bit with your routine and you're not looking after yourself like you normally would. It's the irony, isn't it? You don't think that investing time in yourself is what you need to do, because you need to be focusing on everybody else. But as soon as you do that, you can tell when you're not giving yourself the time.
It's so important.
You show up so differently.
And it doesn't even have to be, half an hour I normally do in the morning before the boys get up. And that half an hour is getting up early for half an hour is the best investment for the rest of the day, because then when the boys are getting up and they're arguing over football socks, something like that, I've got the patience to actually not let that bother me, and I'll be like, right, do you think it's worth having an argument over a pair of football socks? Whereas otherwise at the morning, like, we need to get out of the house, and it's just you're just in a better frame of mind to handle mum life.
100%. I think if I could have a sort of top tip now with like wisdom from having older kids, and you're right, it does come from that learning journey, which is annoying because you wish somebody could just give you the manual. But authenticity, being honest and authentic and vulnerable, is probably my biggest takeaway, because I spent so long trying to be superwoman and trying to make sure they saw that, because I thought it was important for them to see strength and resilience and achieving things, because that was my benchmark of success from my wounding. That I think, and I've got really strong, amazing kids, but I think some of the damage that we've been trying to undo for them is not seeing reality, is seeing actually it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have emotions that fluctuate, and this is what's actually going on. Like you said before, by telling them, gosh, actually today this has happened. I never let that slip when they were little, and I think maybe if I had, it would have been different for them.
I totally agree, and that's something that I've learned as well. And I think we've had the chat about this before. When I've been, having a day where, business wise, there's obviously, working mums, business families, if you've got your own business, you'll know that brings with it, lots of pressure. But again, how much pressure you want to put on yourself, it swings and roundabouts, because there's lots of benefits as well. But when you're only accountable to yourself, then you've got to have your time management, you've got financial implications, but I let my older son is nearly 14, and he's mostly the one that's kind of shows an interest, really, and he sees me working, and he'll be like getting excited when people are booked on to my sessions, and he'll be like, but I'll let him see that actually, there's ups and downs with everything in life, and actually, I'll say, sometimes, when you have got your own business or you're working on a project, it's not always going to be easy, but you've just got to put that work in, and you've got to have affirmations come into it. You've got to have the right mindset. You've got to visualize what you want to achieve, and my vision is, for families to, to embrace with the droplet principles in their families, so that my hindsight can be their foresight, really, for my personal journey, because obviously you learn from every experience you're in, but I know, from doing the gratitude, and if you want to start with one thing, start with doing a gratitude list. Start with that, because
my last guest said exactly the same thing. Gratitude.
Because again, you could say, well, I need to do affirmations. This is why the droplets have got a key learning, between and they will all support each other, but it's not a case of, here's 8 droplets, you've got to do this, and this, because then that's unrealistic, overwhelming. So start with one thing and then build up, because it takes, I think I've read somewhere, it takes about 30 days to embed a habit.
21, 30 days.
Yeah. So do
once a month
one
would be
thing.
great, wouldn't it? But I wish I'd had that. And when I was starting my parenting journey, I was 20 when I had Callum. Oh my gosh, what a resource! I wish that had been a thing, because it would have helped me so much just with my own managing myself, my own self-awareness, and doing it at the same time as raising kids. I think it's amazing. I have all the links up there, and I'm so excited to see what comes next as well, because so much potential, and we need to get these things into communities, into all different spaces where parents are, not just schools, not just toddler groups. There's so many spaces, digital spaces, because it's just valuable learning that needs to just be passed on, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I wish I'd have had this as a child, because another reason why I'm so passionate about well-being and about raising your self-confidence, because I was literally, when I was little in school, they asked my parents if I was hard of hearing because I didn't speak. Really? I was so painfully shy, but I didn't have any confidence. Yeah. And we can really empower our children and empower ourselves as well, because be on that journey together with our little
skills,
ones.
Don't you? It's a learning journey, so and if you do it together, how powerful and beautiful is that? And it's that lack of not judging, not putting expectation on yourself, arming yourself with tools and finding the right tools that work for you. It's just such a combo, isn't it? But it is a journey. It is a journey, and we're all on it. And we're all at different bits, and it's about sort of passing on whatever we can in terms of our tools. And if it works for you, use it. If it doesn't, keep going until you find the tools that work for you.
Remember, Gold Drop, they're all unique.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all.
Yeah, different experiences, different things. Embrace everybody else's experiences. Don't judge yourself by them, I guess, is the takeaway. So before I let you go, I've got 3 questions. Okay. And you've been listening to my podcast, so you already know what 3 questions that I'm going to ask you are. My first question for you is, what's a big thing? What one thing can we do? How can we change the world? What would that look like? How does that work?
Well, just exactly what I just said. Gratitude is my superpower. This is all, whenever I'm on a course, or they ask you what your superpower is, I say gratitude. Sunshine, yellow, sunflowers. That's kind of all the themes of Yellow Droplet. But be a sunflower. Sunflowers turn towards the light. So be that beacon of light for others. Show people, be positive. About even things that are pretty shitty, because there's always going to be a positive for everything. Because put your head on the pillow at night, you've got a bed. Yeah. If you've had the worst day and you think can't wait for this day to be over, you've had that day. You've got a bed to go to.
You've had some experiences.
So gratitude, definitely.
That is massive. It's massive, isn't it? And it kind of, I don't know whether your answer will be different or the same for the second question, which is what one thing, because we're building this toolkit, one thing can people bring into their lives or do in their lives every day that will help them just to feel better in the moment? Anything different?
Well, we've talked about this before as well, but the power of the pause. Because you need that moment. And I'm learning a lot of this from Mojo School, Mojo Mums, because when you are a busy person, and you're a person that has a vision, and you've got a passion, and you've got a purpose, and you want to serve and you want to help, and you've got all these big dreams that you want to follow, actually sometimes you can actually go too fast and not have that pause, and then you can get into that overwhelm space. Because actually just giving yourself a couple of minutes, sometimes even less, can just be like, right, okay, actually I don't need to do this now, this can be done. And same with mums, you've got a never-ending to-do list, or working dads, stay-at-home dads, I've got watching to, I need to see the school, I need to see the school form, I need to do this, sports, what's they got World Book Day next week? You can be like, I've got this many things to do on your to-do list. Having a pause, you'll work out what's the priority. And this is going off the boil a little bit, but this is another thing that I like to share. To-do lists. It's really important to plan, and Orange Droplet brings a bit of planning in as well. But have you ever had a to-do list?
No.
So,
a
day when you think you've got so much to do, and you feel looking at your list and you haven't ticked off as much, and then again that kind of that self-worth comes in. Actually, things came up that day that were more of a priority. So that's your to-do list. I've done this, and this.
That's good. That's really good
just
idea.
Reframing, isn't it?
Reframing, because all that negativity around I failed and do any of the things I was supposed to do today, Well, no, you didn't, because they weren't actually meant to be done together.
And you've just read read the day or read the situation. You realise that actually that can wait, because this is
dynamic
more
assessment.
Yes.
You've just gone and done it something a bit different. I love that. I do a bit of work around a not to do list as well. If someone's really overwhelmed, do your not to do list. What things you do not need to do today?
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of another good reframe. I love to-do list.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to start doing that, because I'm just thinking all the things.
It's a bit like I didn't do it, but ta-da!
Look what I did! Yeah. Oh gosh, mine would look. I'm going to send you one. Did none of that boring stuff, but look what I did. I just made a crochet blanket. Yeah. Oh, here it is. I love that. Last question is to help build our Spotify playlist. What is your feel good tune? I know there's so many, but if you're having a really crap day and you're just like, I want to feel good, I need to put a tune on.
This is
what would you pick?
This is actually a difficult decision, because I've got so many songs that I love.
I can't let you have more than one, but if you just pick one of your favourites, and then if you decide you want more, you can message me. I'll add it on.
Well, I love the song. The one I play for children that they love is I Play Superman.
Oh.
And I do the action. So when we do Purple Droplet, we do a bit of Black Lace, bit of old
nice.
Because I like the action songs, and it fits in really well with Purple Droplet. So they absolutely love doing that. But yeah, for me, I've got so many more as well. I'll have to send you some.
Send me some. Yeah, send me some. Oh, I love that. We were doing that with my actually, just all adults.
Yeah.
But,
and I just think, and I've done that with that. I do that with when I do workshops with families. We get the Superman out, and actually the parents love it more, and family love it more than the children, because it's quite an old school one.
It is, and it gives people a chance to just be in that space again, isn't it? And just
And I always think, never be afraid to. I say this to the adults. Never be afraid to let your inner child out.
Like powerful.
Just just be more kid is a hashtag. Because
so
actually, we children are just naturally in the moment, but as adults, we carry around all this baggage, and we sometimes don't want to let go. So that's why I do like that Superman song, because it's very silly,
it is,
and actually you can just completely let go. But I will send you some more, because I've got a bit of blank. Brain blank now, but I've literally got so many.
I had Christmas songs.
Yeah, been ace the ones you've been playing on.
I've been playing those. Yeah, I've got some classical pieces. I've got a Christmas song. I've got some rave tunes.
Macklemore was good. The Ceiling Can't Hold Us. What's that one? That's a good one as well. I did that in a conference once.
Let's put that one on. It's not even on there yet.
That's a good one, because
that's really empowering. It's got a bit of a we'll do that. Love it. Well, thank you, Angela. We've gone on for way more than we thought we would, but it's all cool. I think we can do some follow-ups. I think we can do some more topics on that. So I think
it's very much a whistle-stop tour.
Yeah, there's so many
deeper conversations in there for parents that need to actually realise what an amazing job they're doing.
You're doing an amazing job. And we'll share some links. You can get some support, and you can contact Ange if you want to, and you can get in touch with me if you need anything on Mojo School. And then maybe if there's anything that anybody wants us to cover, we can jump on again, and there could be a topic that we've touched on that you might want broadening out on, and we can do another session. Little series.
And I get fed when I come here, so
it's great. But speaking of which, right, we've got a second course coming up, but baking as well must be another one of my things. If I get into it, I'll bake, and that's another therapeutic tool for me. So it's calling, Sticky Toffee Pudding is calling our names. So I'm going to do that now. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.